Black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black, black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black and I'm back.
I feel awkward now.
You've had a movie come out this month. Well, not this month as you're watching this, but or listening to this, but movie that came out in February. And it's always interesting when movies that come out earlier on in the year because that's usually where
The movie's going to die.
Yeah.
This movie's going to die.
Yeah, it's always those movies, and then you have the beginning of the year that's like, and then you usually have the end of the year, which is usually your Star Wars thing, except for last year.
Right. And sometimes they'll come out like in early January because they want to make the Oscar cut.
Yes.
So they gotta quick get them out.
Yeah.
And they'll do a limited releases so they get in that Oscar buzz thing.
Gotcha.
And then like you said, from there to March is kind of movies go to die.
Yeah. So Marvel took a chance and they released a particular movie. And the significance of that was that February is Black History Month. So they definitely wanted to do something a little bit special there and everything. And I recognize the importance of this movie. You know, I am a man of color. But
Are you?
Yeah. If you're listening, you probably don't know. But if you're watching, you do know. But I do recognize that there is a lot of importance around this film. And we are, of course, talking about that Black Panther.
Black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black, black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black and I'm back.
I feel awkward now.
That's a clip from, if you're listening, that's actually a clip from one of Chris Rock's comedies.
Oh yeah.
And it was just I heard this like 2 years ago, and it was just like, what is? I was like, I thought this was a real song at first.
Right.
I was just like, what is going on here? But this isn't the first time Marvel has done something with having a predominantly black.
This is not the black. Yeah, so black cast, yeah, but people's like, this is the first black Marvel superhero, and we're like, no,
because they've had a few in the past.
Well, I mean, like, so what? The Falcon is nobody.
Yeah,
he's been there since the beginning, right? Or the
true.
second movie,
the
second
part,
Captain America movie. But I'm like, he's been around.
Yeah, he's been. But this is like
Okay.
first
lead.
But it's not technically not the
No,
first
not true
lead
either.
because we've had movies.
Blade,
we've had shows.
the Blades and
we've
stuff.
had shows like
Yep.
Luke Cage.
Oh yeah, Luke Cage
on
is
Netflix.
great.
Yeah.
Luke Cage is awesome.
Luke Cage is a good show. We've also had. Also, DC's actually getting into with Black Lightning.
Black Lightning. I don't know.
I haven't seen it.
He looks a little old to be Black Lightning. It's more like instead of Black Lightning, more like Black Paws, Black Sound of. Instead of Black Lightning is speed of light. He's the speed of sound because he's not that fast.
He's not that fast anymore.
Yeah, I know, because he kind of, I don't know. It's like the actor. He might be great. I don't know, but he looks like he's kind of past his prime.
Yeah, I think that's one of the points.
He's like
of the
older.
Show. I think that's one of the points of the show. I haven't seen it, but I've heard.
I've seen previews, but I'm like,
yeah, I've seen previews. I'm like, I've heard some decent things about it. I'll check it out when it comes on Netflix and stuff. But yeah, like DC's doing their thing too. But there haven't been a whole lot of them in the movies. That's what people want to see. Like, yeah, but we haven't seen the movies yet, because usually the first thing people usually go back to when they think about their black superheroes. Steel. Shaquille O'Neal.
I mean, but okay, now honestly, there is a little bit of fun about that.
There is.
Because it is Shaq,
yeah.
and he has fun with it. He really does.
He knows he's not an actor, and for all intents and purposes, he is trying it at a certain degree.
But it's kind of like that guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
You want that thick gooey cheese, you watch Steel.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those, like, if you hate it, I understand, but if you like it because it's a so bad it's good type of thing, I definitely get that.
Do you
too.
remember a show came out before that on TV called Mantis?
I do not.
Oh, that was another black superhero in a suit. If I remember right, he was paralyzed. In fact, I don't remember the actor's name, but he played in the show Alias as the main characters, one of her not sidekicks, but like coworkers, who was also an espionage agent. Really good actor. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was in something called Mantis. Didn't last very long, but he had a suit. And I think he was in a wheelchair, but the suit, he could walk and do stuff. So that's kind of like his alter. People didn't know. It was like, well, it can't be him because he's in a wheelchair. I think it was interesting. It was before his time, and it really didn't work.
So he got Steel, that picture.
that picture.
He's like, man, I was trying, man.
Yeah, I know.
But then you also had Meteor Man.
Meteor Man, love Meteor Man.
Now this is, if you haven't seen this is a gem. This is a gem. It is
really good. Robert Townsend back then, I mean, it's like he did everything just about. I mean, he was great, and it was funny, and it was also good.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's
a fun, it's comedy that's actually funny, because we don't have a lot of those nowadays.
Right, and it was kind of a really heavy family film too, without being boring.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, but like you mentioned a film earlier, and I feel like a lot of people forget about this. My man Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, Blade.
Blade, man. He was the first person. Now, you can argue like the first two were just like, well, they didn't really take, superheroes seriously or anything. And Blade, not really. But in my opinion, the first Blade movie was one of those, like, it was cool.
Right.
It was dumb. But at the same time, you still had a level of seriousness there. It wasn't like full on like, oh, this is dark and brooding, or anything like that. But, it had its level of
it had a dark, gritty undertone about it. It really did.
So we have this movie, Black Panther, which is directed by Ryan Coogler. And if you don't know Ryan Coogler, he has directed other movies. You probably know him from Fruitvale Station with Michael B. Jordan.
Well, there you go, Michael B. Jordan again.
And also Creed.
Michael B. Jordan again.
Michael B. Jordan. So,
gee, I wonder why Michael B. Jordan's in this movie.
Yeah, if you wonder why Michael B. Jordan's in it, there you go. But those are two.
I need to meet this guy.
Yeah, if you have not seen either of those movies, please do. If you please, they are very, very good films. I will give you a warning. There is a trigger warning about Fruitvale Station. Yeah. Because there's some stuff that goes on. I won't spoil it or anything, but there's some stuff that goes on that can, if you're easily irked by that,
it's intense.
If you're easily irked by that, it can get under your skin really quick. So, but they're both very, very good movies, and I feel like with this movie, he did the best that he possibly could.
Who, Michael B. Jordan?
Like Ryan Coogler.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did the best he possibly could with the material that he was given, and the script he was probably given. I don't know who was the writer. He was a writer.
Yeah, but I don't think he really. I mean, obviously, every Marvel movie can't stick exactly to the story. Any comic can't stick, but I think Marvel sticks to it as best they can
with the universe that they've already built.
Absolutely, I think. Yeah, I really think so, and I think. And people go, well, no, right now they're going, no. I said, but you got to understand, like when you take a book and make it into a movie or a series of comics over the decades, you gotta make it movie worthy, or it's different. You got to put it on screen where people are going to see it, and you can't do everything.
Comic panels don't necessarily translate all the time,
right? And you got to condense stuff, and maybe even change stuff because maybe times have changed.
Yep.
I mean, if technology is more modern, you might need to throw that in there, especially if you're taking place in the modern world. And I think they mentioned something to the effect of it was a conglomeration of all the Black Panthers from the original to whoever took it over the time, and they rebooted it a few times. So they had different elements of each character as it was reborn in the comics by different writers.
Right.
To my understanding.
Right.
So, and I would be one of the kind of the traditionalists and say, I knew the original Black Panther, leave him alone. I had no problem with it. I think it completely went with the character from what I remember as a kid.
Exactly. And even like there were some people that didn't really care for the character of T'Challa in this movie, not as much as they did for him in Civil War. And I always looked at it, and I thought about that a few times, and I was just like, he's not the same. He's not going to be that same character that he was in Civil War, because on Civil War he's on a death vengeance mission, and then by this time, he's calmed down.
Right.
He's a little more relaxed,
right.
And he realizes that I gotta prepare to be king.
Right. Well, and remember he went to the whole Black Panther thing, meeting his father on the ancestral plane with the other past. kings and the Panthers and stuff. So you get that kind of going on. But at the same time, in the Civil War, remember, he was a kind of a but he's kind of spoiled prince a little bit, but more of a statesman, not the actual Black Panther, because his father was the Black Panther. Right. Even though he was old, he was still the king, so he was the Black Panther.
Exactly.
So you had that, and then of course, like you said, then it's more like I'm Indigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die, kind of thing.
Yeah. So there was a difference in character from Civil War to this movie, and I buy into it. I honestly, I mean, I know some people didn't really. They thought he was less interesting, and as a humble king rather than the person that we saw in Civil War. But I buy into it. I'm just like, all right, he's going to be more relaxed now. I mean, he's come to terms. Well, he's coming to terms with his father's death, and he realizes, like, hey, man, this is something I'm just going to have to deal with. Like he said he meets with his father and everything. It's like, hey, I'm not really ready. But he says, his father says, T'Chaka says, like, hey, look, I prepared you. I've given you everything you need. Right. You just have to, use those tools and everything that I've told you how to use. So, so one thing I wanted to say, I said this in an earlier review, but and if you've seen it or not, I hope you have. But I think this movie, as far as the way it looked, most times beautiful.
Yeah.
Very,
absolutely,
very beautiful.
Yep.
It probably spiked sales to Africa, sales for trips to Africa.
Yeah.
They're probably going to be mad as heck because people are going to come in. I want to go to Wakanda. Wakanda doesn't exist.
Wakanda doesn't exist. But I have seen airports putting it up on their marquees and stuff as, I guess, support. Not the actual arrival times, but they'll put up like little things, and I'm just like, that's fun. But like you said, and then because little kids would be like, I want to go to Wakanda, but they're little kids, they don't know.
Yeah. You could probably take them anywhere, and they'd be like, look, it's Wakanda.
Yeah. Now, have you posted our Star Wars review?
Yes.
Okay. So if you ever saw that and you saw my list of what I hated about that Star Wars movie, it was like almost 2 pages. So I had like this much that I didn't like and this much I did. Well, this is the opposite. I like all this and I didn't like this much. Now, this much I didn't like is the CG. Near the end, the battle.
Yes.
He blows the horn and then outrun armor-plated rhinoceroses.
Golly.
And I just was like, oh my God, what happened? And I'm just like, oh Lord, really? We got armor-plated rhinoceroses. Okay.
Yeah, and it kind of goes into that. We'll go into the bad just a second.
Okay.
Because that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Oh yeah.
And that's part of what one of the issues I have with the film and everything.
Yeah.
Other good things.
Yeah.
We were talking about about comedy earlier. I felt for the most part it worked in here, except for that one cringy joke. For the most part, it worked. You were there. You heard the entire theater just go, ah.
They're like, ah.
And I didn't spoil it in the video I did earlier, but the initial review.
Well, we are going to now.
Yeah, the "what are those" joke from 2015 or 2014 or whatever. I was just like, you did not just say that. That is extremely that's dated now as it's coming out. And then the entire theater's just like, Other than that, for the most part, when it was lighthearted, it stayed lighthearted. Yeah. And when it was serious, it got serious for the most part. And I did like that. I appreciated that. And read some reviews, and they were saying like, oh, looks like they've kind of been looking over at DC a little bit, just as far as going serious a little bit and everything and taking their stuff a little seriously. I'm like, no. If anything, I feel like, DC does do that, and they kind of go overboard with it a little bit. But if anything, this is almost Marvel back to its roots, when it first came out, closer to it. It's closer to that, where you had you would have comedic scenes, and then you would have those serious scenes, and they stayed serious. You didn't abandon that scene or anything. You let it fester with you a little bit. So I felt that was a really good change of pace. I was worried about that going in, but I was like, I didn't get that for the most part. Sometimes the comedy didn't work, but most times it did. I'm sorry, the crash was kind of hilarious when she's
driving the car and that's with the wheel.
The wheel
in the seat. That
was
was funny.
That was so.
That was funny. I mean, that was great. Yeah, that was just great. I mean, I think that got the biggest laugh. I think.
Yeah. Especially she had this freaked out look on her face.
She's like, ah! And she wasn't screaming. She was like, and then it slowly came to a stop, and she was like, okay, all right, we're good now. I mean, everybody's like, okay, see, that's a comic book moment we know is
Yes.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful.
Yes.
It was perfect.
Yes.
The movie storyline was fairly predictable. I mean, there was no real big surprises. There was a couple of moments. I was like, like we talked about. We were like, look at that. That's great. That's awesome. That's how you should do it.
Right.
You put, even though we know the good guy's going to win, we know there's going to be some kind of struggle and et cetera. That's every story. You have the normal, you have a conflict, you have resolution, then we're back again. That's every story. You read any story, that's what happens. The way they did this one, like I said, with the bits and pieces, each, as the individual elements threw together, I'm like, because we talked about some of this too, was like, I don't know, that didn't quite work, or that was like, okay, that was a good turn. It's like how they did that, kind of like we talked about the fight with the generals and Killmonger.
Yes,
and I'm like, because a lot of people I saw and I heard I was listening to some interviews and stuff. They were saying how people were saying this was great because you have these black women who are generals. You have these black women who are strong. They are trusted and they kick butt. And I'm like, I'm cool with that. You know, I don't care white or black. I mean, that's cool.
And they do kick butt.
They do. And I'm like, as they're
pretty...
fighting, they almost get the collar off, which means that would have been it. And you're like, oh, it must happen. And they were kicking his butt. Yeah. I mean, and people can say, no, they weren't. I go, they were holding their own pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because the character was basically put up as, a really bad dude.
Yeah.
But also a cunning and clever and strong bad dude. Because, I mean, he beat supposedly, not quite completely, but, T'Challa and now he's the king, basically.
Yes.
So he wasn't a slouch,
There was an underlying plot here. And I felt like if you're going to go for this, go for it.
Right.
And that's where I felt like it just didn't quite get there. And some people texted me and they assume like, oh, you don't like this movie, and I'm like, I like the movie. Dang it, listen to what I'm saying. but I'll go into a little bit of detail here. It does circle around the villain, Killmonger. So there, like I said, there's this whole political thing that's going on, and it could raise a lot of questions and can have this kind of debate. And Michael B. Jordan is raising these questions until it becomes a supervillain. And then just have him spout supervillain dialogue.
Because honestly, at that point, I'm like, okay, even as a white person, I'm like, I get what I kind of get, because I kind of felt where not exactly where he's coming from, but I felt for him. Yes. I'm like, yeah. I mean, first of all, his mom wasn't in the picture, I guess. Exactly. She was a drug head. She might have OD'd on drugs. We don't know. But she was not in his life. Exactly. She was doing bad things. And personally, his father, I thought he was a tremendous. I mean, I'm sure he's been in many other things. I've not noticed him in other things, but that little part he did, and the part later when he had the flashback, I want to see more of that guy too, because he was really good. Yeah. And I was telling you that I thought most of the kind of the minor characters were better than some of the major characters. No offense, and you like Michael B. Jordan. I just don't get him. I just think he does the same thing every time. It might be the looks and the brooding or something. I don't know. But like, I think now, and again, it might be also the fact that, it was a comic book movie and he was a, super villain. And so maybe that moment with him and his dad, when he was flashing back and he became the Black Panther, he started to kind of change a little bit, and I want to see more of that. But then he went right back into I'm Killmonger. Yes, I'm gonna burn it all down. We're gonna do this. I'm like,
that's what bugged me about it, because like you had this person, even like in the beginning when I saw him, I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's interesting now.
Yes, exactly, because he's in the museum. And he goes, tell me about this piece. So he's dressed a certain way. But then he's wearing glasses, so he immediately looks smarter, because everybody in glasses looks smarter. And then, but he's got the hair and he's wearing the baggy thing, so you're like, I don't really know what to speak of. And then the British lady comes and starts talking about, oh, yes, I'm an expert. Oh, yes, I'm an expert on these things. And so he's like, okay, tell me about this one, tell me about this one. So, and then he shows like, you think I'm a certain something, but I'm a lot more than you think I am.
Yes.
I'm like, that's cool.
That was nice.
That's nice.
I like that.
And then, but see, then in a way, they kind of turn him into the Joker from the... They turned him into the Gunman, the crazy Gunman, basically.
Yeah, it is like, to me, almost like
without a lot of guns.
There was a little bit of hint of it early on, but it like, to me, like when he turned himself in a sense, as soon as he does that, and he starts talking, and I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden he's just like, nah, I don't need anyone. I just need you.
Right,
I want
right.
to kill you. And I'm
Right,
like,
right.
what did you
I
do
know.
to him?
I
What
know.
did you do to this character?
I
I'm
know,
like,
I know.
no, come back. Where's the other one
Yeah.
go? And
Right.
that was my main thing with Michael B. Jordan, like Killmonger character. It's not Michael B. Jordan. I don't believe it is. I don't believe it's Michael B. Jordan. I think it's the
it is.
dialogue.
I've seen
that
him in
he's
other
given.
things, and he's kind of now. Yeah, you're right. That could be part of it too, because it's like somebody was saying about other movies. I said he's not a bad actor. He's playing a bad character.
Yes.
So maybe that's it. I mean, he's been in a lot of things, and I just never really, I don't know. To me, he kind of plays the same character. Maybe it's just that he has that same look when he looks and he broods or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But now Chadwick Boseman, like I was saying, I've seen him in other things, and I'm like, that's the
That
same
man
guy.
transforms. That
Holy
man
cow!
transforms.
This dude is like I said, like Daniel Day-Lewis. He's like, he is that character. There's no
Yes.
doubt. You're like, he
Yes.
was Jackie Robinson. He was James Brown. He is.
He's
T'Challa.
T'Challa. He's T'Challa. I completely
And I'm like,
buy him.
holy
I believe
cow.
this.
Yeah.
I believe in this character. But yeah, it felt like at a certain point, it's just for me anyway, and you might feel the same way. And there's a couple other people that mentioned this too, but very few. But they were just like, man, I felt like at some point that mouse came in. It just said, hey. It's a Disney movie, right?
Right.
And they almost turned Killmonger into a Disney villain.
Yeah.
Now there are good Disney villains. Don't get me wrong. Scar. And since we're in Africa, talk about Scar. Scar is a good Disney villain, but he says very villainy things, and that's what was kind of irritating me a little bit with Killmonger.
Was it the
because-
part after he became Black Panther? Burn it all.
Well,
Burn it all down.
It's that,
well,
and then
your Majesty, we must say this. I said, burn it all. And he's
that,
like strangling a lady.
There's the whole because you mentioned like something earlier about like being like there was almost a Creed callback. Have you seen Creed? You haven't seen Creed yet?
No.
Okay. There's a moment where like he knocks someone out and he gets all big and bad and everything.
Right.
He's like, oh, it's supposed to be a killer, right? And then it's like. He kind of does the same thing with T'Challa. He's like, "Oh, this your king? This
Right.
your king, huh?"
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah, he's monologuing. He was
yes,
monologuing,
he's
basically.
And I'm like, "What are you doing with this guy, man?"
Right.
So,
Well, and talking about that a little bit too with the whole thing, because the character and the actor played in Get Out,
Yes.
right?
I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not going to try. I know what you're talking about, though.
Well, this guy, right? He played Wakabi.
Yeah.
His first name is
Daniel,
Daniel.
but
Daniel.
I can't
Daniel,
pronounce
last name Kaluuya or something.
I
perhaps.
can't
don't know.
pronounce.
Yeah, we
his
don't
last
know.
name. I'm not
But
going to
anyway,
try. I don't want
right,
to butcher
but
his
anyway.
name.
So, we know the history of, because they go back and talk about how Claw
Yes.
blew up, stole some vibranium, blew up, killed the guy's father.
Right.
He wants revenge as well, right? Same as T'Challa wants revenge, the same thing, and to bring him to justice. And then I'm like, okay, so, and this is kind of a weak point in the plot again.
Yeah.
So he goes, I promise you I'll bring him to justice. Now, he I don't know if he said like today,
Yeah.
but he did say, I promise I'll bring him to you. Now, he didn't, only because Killmonger's character
helped him escape.
the prison, and he saw, T'Challa saw he says he was wearing a ring like this around his neck. He saw that. Okay, that's interesting. So what's up with that? All right, and so then he shows up after Killmonger kills Claw with his body to that guy, which he apparently already knew about. And I guess he's been he had a lot of missions in Africa, what they talked about.
Right.
So he kind of knew, but I don't know how he knew I go directly to that guy right there. I don't know, but anyway, I'm just gonna suspended disbelief. Say,
Yeah,
okay,
that's fine. Yeah.
he talked to people, paid people, did whatever,
Right.
and then brings his body to him and goes, okay, I brought you the guy, and I'm like, but who are you?
Yeah.
And how do you know about this?
Yeah.
That would be a question I'd ask. It's like, how do you know about my father? How do you know about any of this? How do you know how do you know that guy was involved? I mean, how do you know any of this? And then when, T'Challa finds out about this, he goes, that was the guy that broke him out of jail.
Yeah, exactly.
He was working with him.
Exactly.
I don't know what fell out, but he killed him. Okay, fine. But now here's the question. He was involved in this guy. So is he involved in your father's death as well? Because this guy, the Wakabi character, has known T'Challa all his life.
Exactly.
All of a sudden now it's like, well, he brought me this dead guy, so I don't like you anymore.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's kind of
really
weak.
quick change. And
I was like, that's kind of weak.
You really gonna choose this guy over, like pretty much your best friend?
Yeah.
Right now, like
that seemed really weak to me, and that's one thing I think I have a problem with some of these Marvel movies is the quick change from the good guy to the bad guy that fast. And he wasn't really a bad guy.
Yeah, he wasn't.
He wasn't really a bad guy,
yeah.
but
he changed sides a little bit too quick.
Too fast,
yeah.
a little too loosey goosey for Then I'd be kind of looking at him like, I don't know if I could trust you anymore.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So that's the one of the main points we were talking about before. I'm like, I don't know, but that works. That seems a little forced.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. And like I said, just like there was a point like for me, it just like it turned into a quote unquote Disney movie.
Right.
Like
was
I could see this.
Was it the rhinoceroses?
Yep.
The only thing they didn't do was like dancing tutus like in Fantasia.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
when they show up, it's like,
oh my lord,
are you kidding me right now?
I'm like, oh goodness.
And the thing was, like, there are certain times when you can do something like this. If this was the tone of the movie throughout, then I probably would have been okay with it.
If they had armored ostriches or armored zebras or something,
yeah, probably would have been perfectly okay with it.
Hippopotamuses with jetpacks, maybe.
The movie went from like serious to like, oh, we got to dial it back a little bit, and then we have armored rhinos, and I'm just like,
well, but here's the thing I want to know though: where were the armored gorillas when the gorilla guys showed up? Where were they? They didn't have any armored gorillas that I saw.
That would have been pretty cool.
I'm just saying
cool.
there were
made a little bit more sense.
I mean, you had the guy with the rhinos because that was the tribe that took care of that savannah area where rhinos are. Okay, I get it. And he had a pet rhino.
Yeah.
I get it. They got there really fast. I was amazing how quick they got there because again, maybe they have jetpacks. I don't know. But then you had that whole joke. I think they put the rhinos in for that one joke.
What joke?
The joke where T'Challa's there, the guy's charging, or Wakabi's character's charging, and then Okoye, the general, jumps in front, and the rhino stops and licks her.
Oh,
I think that's the only reason they put the rhinoceroses in there.
Okay, well,
because I'm like, they look really kind of they look bad.
Look, if you don't care about the rhinos, fine. That's it's whatever.
It's a minor thing.
Yeah, and
it was full of delicious cheese though.
It was just for me. I like this movie. Don't get me wrong. I do like this movie. I enjoyed this movie.
Absolutely.
I would see it again. If someone asked me like if you want to see it again, I'd see it again.
Yep.
And that's always my judge for like if I went to go. What's up?
I'll keep going.
Yeah. That's always like my judgment call. Like with the movie, is like, would I go see this again? Would I pay the money to go into theater and sit down, eat popcorn, and watch this movie again? And I would say yes for this one. There haven't been many comic films that have been coming out that I can say that with. But for the most part, I feel like this one, I was like, I definitely would see this again.
Yeah, it was a fun movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, it wasn't confusing.
No.
I mean, it was pretty straightforward.
Not at all. It's just one of those things like this movie, it tried to raise questions and it tried to.
Beautiful questions. Questions that are, like seriously hardcore questions, but they threw it in a kind of not cheesy, but a kid's movie, basically. A science fiction, fantasy, hero movie.
Yeah, and
comic book movie.
It could have went there. And the thing is like you have movies out there that have done this type of thing better, where you have, you can't really choose a side. And I felt like for me, I could look back at movies like X-Men First Class. You've seen that, right? Yeah. And at the end of that movie, I could not tell you who I would side with. I can't tell you if I would side with Xavier. I can't tell you if I would side with Eric. I can't tell you who I would side with because I saw each of their points so well, and it was done in such a fashion like. I can see both sides. Well, the conflict is still there, and that conflict never really leaves you, and everything. Here, I was just like, I don't care what this guy is saying. I'm siding with T'Challa, regardless of which.
Right.
And there was never a point where I sided with the villain. I understood, but there was never a point where I was siding with the villain, and I felt like there was moments in this movie that they were trying to get you to do that. But things he was saying and stuff like that.
But that missed.
And it's like, yeah, exactly. It's just like, all right, you didn't hit a home run. As far as I know, this is what I compare the movie to. It's like you didn't hit a home run. You hit a solid double. It's a good hit, but you didn't quite hit it out of the park. And it might be one of those things. Like if I go back and see it again, I'll enjoy it more because I'm not looking for that anymore.
Right.
You know, so 'cause
well,
I know
again,
what to expect.
we watch movies a little differently than most of the people who probably were there who just says it was a great movie because it had powerful black characters and black actors in it. And I'm like, yeah, it was. It was good because of that. I agree.
Yeah.
I had as a non-black person had no problem watching this movie. I didn't feel uncomfortable in the theaters. I didn't feel uncomfortable with the subject matter or anything. I mean, because I read a lot of history stuff, so I know what's going on in the world. And I didn't care the characters were I didn't care what color they were at all. I mean, because here's the thing: all the white characters weren't bad guys. Exactly. All the black characters weren't good guys.
Exactly.
It was like the world. There are good people of all colors and bad people of all colors. That's exactly what it did. Because you got Andy Serkis's character, Claw, as a really bad guy, funny, crazy bad guy. Yeah. I mean, you might want to party with him, but you don't want to hang around for the after party. I don't know. Yeah. But I mean, he's, I don't know. He's a bit of literally a loose cannon. Where you got Martin Freeman's character, who was the good guy, sort of, because he was CIA. So as you know, CIA is
questionable,
sort of. But he was definitely good in this one,
right?
Because he helped them out,
right? And
he played his strengths. You had the bad guy, Killmonger,
right?
And you had the good guy, T'Challa, and the other folks. So it's so it was a well balanced movie in that regard.
Yeah,
because it didn't. I don't think. I mean, like I said, it hit it tried to hit those serious areas. Didn't quite make it. It touched on them.
Yes.
But it balanced. I think it balanced out well because it did address them. In some way.
Yes, and it is good thing that it did address it. I'm not saying it should have never done it. I'm just saying like, oh, okay, but you're like I said, it was trying to reach something, just couldn't quite reach it. It was like just skimmed it a little bit, and it was like, oh, okay, we tried.
Right, and then like I said, at the end of the movie, when they talk about they bought all that building where he grew up in a light. And in a way, and I told you this before we started filming, I said, in a way, it's almost like they're honoring Killmonger's character, knowing, that education is the way. Because, it helped him in a general sense because it made him a better person, not be an evil villain, but to overcome of all that hardship. And so they're looking around like, okay, it shouldn't be like this. And like they also said was we're not going to keep ourselves hidden from the world anymore. And so the way to do it, let's have some technology, but not weapons technology, but science and communications and education and all stuff like that. Knowledge, all that is powerful. And as we've seen in other countries in the world, that's more powerful than weapons a lot of times because you educate women, a lot of good stuff happens. Yes, you have not as many children born in poverty. You won't have subjugation of women. You have it's better for everybody. Yes, people are healthier. I mean, the whole education makes people smarter, makes people healthier, makes people have better choices, and only that, it also makes them more prosperous because they've learned how to be better farmers and how to be better builders and the whole 9 yards instead of living in, hastily put together hovels that a wind could blow over or something. So that, if you look in the modern world, is cool. And they're doing that now. Yeah. Yeah, and I thought that was very, it's like I said, it's a touching ending, and everything. And that kind of honored him in that way, which I thought was cool because again, the king did pick that building. Yes. Now maybe he said he did it. He might. I mean, people say, well, he did it because that's where his father killed his brother, but didn't want to make it right. I go, maybe. Yeah. But I think I like to think more he, righted a wrong in that regard and picked that area because in a way to honor him. Yes. And not have another person go down that same path. Right. Yeah. Exactly. And not, because in a sense, like I was thinking about it just a little bit ago, and I was like, in a sense, I'm like, he did Eric did a lot for himself, but it's one thing to do a lot for yourself and overcome a lot of the adversity and stuff that you're going through, but you're doing all that while you're angry. And it's being able to hold on to that anger for so long, right, and everything. Right. So I was it was one of those things I wish that would have been, just touch on that a little bit more and stuff, and there's some lines in there, but here's the thing, and this is my thing with certain lines that people say, yes, you can have a very deep line that's very meaningful and impactful, but if it's not coming from a person who is just as meaningful and is impactful, why are you going to listen to it? Exactly. Exactly.
You know, because there was a line he said at the very end, and a lot of people were just like, "Wow, you know, that was deep and everything." And I was like, "Yes, it was." But
You're talking about Killmonger when he dies, says, "Bury me with my ancestors in the ocean," or something.
And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I see that. Like, that's a deep line." And there was some other stuff that he was saying, like early on when he's first, like, say, he turns himself over, and he's talking about like how comfortable everyone is and stuff like that. I was like, man, if he just wasn't. If he wasn't that supervillain, and you know, if he was that deeper villain that he could have been, this would have been like that'd have been a tearjerker line right there. You know, at least for, you know, if he were impacted like that, I would say, like for me, I would like that might have made me well up a little bit, but it just didn't have that same effect. So that's all I want to say. Like, I enjoy this movie, despite what some of you may think.
Right.
I do like this movie.
Absolutely.
But
We're like I said, we're watching different movies because, I mean, we're critics, you know, but we're also fans, obviously.
Yes.
So we got a good mix. But I mean, I watch it and look at, you know, does the plot make sense?
Yes.
You know, are the actors good? Not just like, oh, he's really good. Why? What does he do? Is he doing something interesting?
Yes.
Does he make me want to, like you said, learn more about the character? Does it profoundly, you know, impact me in any way? I mean, even whether or not I have experiences like that, it's like, do I feel for the character? Do I want to see him do more, and then they kill him off, and like, oh my God, I want to see more from that guy.
Yes.
If that makes you feel that way, I think that's good.
Yes.
That's a good writing. That's a good plot, and that's a good actor. And then, as you know, movies have to have all of that stuff, because we've seen good plots that have bad acting, and good acting in movies that have bad plots.
Yes.
And then, you know, if you take out something like the scenery is not good, or the music's not good, or the special effects is not good, that really takes away from it. So we're just analyzing it in that regard. Again, it was an awesome, fun movie.
Yes.
To me, I know what they released it in February because of Black History Month, but this would be a summer blockbuster also.
Oh yeah.
Easily.
Oh, it's definitely
Easily.
could have been.